Hey guys, just wanted to say before we start this episode that we had so much fun making this episode that we decided that about halfway through we were going to start this as a multi-episode project. So we're going to have episode 1 out on time normally. We are going to try to get the second episode done within the next week to get it out on schedule. And we're going to go from there and kind of see where we're at with episode 2. I don't want to make this like a 4-hour episode type thing, so we're definitely going to be breaking this up into multiple episodes. But I just wanted to let you guys know that so that when you get to the end of this podcast episode and it kind of ends abruptly, that is why. We're going to be finishing up recording soon. So I'm also going to put a message at the end of the podcast just to remind you. Thank you for listening, guys. We always appreciate all the support, and enjoy the episode talking about Final Fantasy VIII.
Last time on Dragon Ball Z.
Irvin is like that guy that's like, while you were on the internet, I was studying the sword. And like but he's actually kind of cool. But he's also that guy.
He's like a weeb that they just shoved into Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah, he's fucking awesome.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Gaming Effect. We're here with episode 8, our special Final Fantasy VIII episode, the one we've been waiting so long to record. I'm your co-host, Alex, aka Soldier First Class.
And I am Corey, aka Dookie03.
And welcome back, guys. I want to thank you guys. We are above 300 plays now in total, and really excited about that. It's been a journey, but we're here with episode 8. Finally, we've been talking about this since before we ever even started this podcast. In fact, I would say that we've been talking about doing this since really a couple years ago when we did a podcast episode on your channel talking about all of the Final Fantasy series. We got up to 6, but then at the end we kind of, I know, shocker, went on a tangent, and we started talking about Final Fantasy VIII, and mostly about Irvine being what he thinks is a pussy magnet, and
a ladies' man,
yeah. So we're here to talk about Final Fantasy VIII today. We're going to start off per usual with the introduction, what we've been playing, and then we're going to get right into it. So that being said, don't forget you guys can listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, and my YouTube channel right here if you're watching this on video form. And thanks for all the shares, all the ratings. We're up to 11 5-star ratings now, I believe. And it is definitely appreciated. So keep rating, keep sharing, and keep doing some of the legwork for us when it comes to advertising.
Being awesome.
Yeah, keep being awesome. So, Corey, what have you been playing lately? I know you kind of pretty much gave up on WrestleQuest, but give us a brief kind of reason why, and then go into what you've been playing lately.
So, WrestleQuest was just it was like all the movement was like very slow. The story was like just dragging. The combat was like, I call it like Legend of Dragoon syndrome, where it's like Legend of Dragoon is a phenomenal game, so don't hate on me for this. I love the game, the story, and all that, but Legend of Dragoon has like, every time you get into a random encounter, there goes the next 20 minutes of your life, because you got to do like all those additions and all those like, hit the timed combos and stuff. But WrestleQuest was actually worse, because it was literally every battle was a series of like quick time events, basically, in order to win. And it was just, I don't know. It wasn't grabbing me by the balls like a lot of other JRPGs do. I put in about, I think I was like 10 hours in, maybe more. And so, I mean, I gave it the old college try, and it just wasn't doing it for me. And I think the fact that I knew in the back of my mind hey, I could be playing Sea of Stars right now, a game I've been looking forward to since I finished The Messenger back in like 2019. So it had to get kind of tossed by the wayside. Maybe someday I'll go back to it. The all the references and all that stuff was really cool. Like, I'm a big old school pro wrestling fan. I didn't even realize I'm wearing a pro wrestling shirt right now. But yeah, it just wasn't doing it for me as a JRPG. But yeah, I'm playing Sea of Stars now, and it's been fucking awesome. So there's that. If you like Chrono Trigger, Dragon Quest,
Golden
I'm
Sun.
told, yeah, I was gonna say, I'm told it's similar to Golden Sun, but I haven't played Golden Sun in so long, and I've never finished it. So that's
You need to
something else
play it.
I need
Great
to go back
series.
and play. I remember like just like spamming summons, like since this is the Final Fantasy VIII podcast, it's kind of similar, like where I was like, I just remember like spamming summons, like every battle I'd be like, okay, I'm not even gonna attack, I'm just gonna keep spamming summons. I remember doing that a lot. But yeah, it's got a lot of Sega CD JRPG references as well, which is really cool because there's not a lot of people I feel that have played a lot of Sega CD JRPGs. And they definitely need some more love, I think. And then we've also, I don't think we started this before the last podcast, did we? But we've been playing Dragon Quest X together.
I don't remember if we had started playing it last episode or not, but I think it was pretty close if we hadn't.
It might have been literally the day after we
It
recorded.
was. It actually was, because we recorded our episode on Friday, and Saturday we had our morning stream that we did, and then our afternoon stream that we did together of Dragon Quest X. So yeah, it was
for like 10 hours straight, basically.
Yeah, the podcast was directly before we started playing. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's been great. It's nice now that the Clarity Project is out. The story is really well fan translated now. Whereas before I had to translate everything for chat. I'd keep running into kanji I wasn't fucking familiar with, so I'm like holding up my Google Translate phone to the screen and then keeping up with chat and all that. It was kind of a nightmare. I was getting literal headaches from translating for like long periods of time. It's so nice now to be able to just play through it and have everything in English. If you guys are interested in playing Dragon Quest X, the trial version is free. It goes all the way up to right before, apparently, the final boss of version 2, which is like the second expansion of the game. So you're basically getting 2 full Dragon Quest games that happen to be an MMO, but you can play through them pretty much by yourself if you want. Go to Dragon Quest X Abbey. So dqxabbey.com. It's got a step-by-step guide on how to create an account and set up the Clarity Project, which translates all the story and everything. And then there's an AI translator you can sign up for that does all like the NPC dialogue and player dialogue and stuff like that.
And as somebody who has recently done it themselves, it's actually really easy to install and stuff. So if you are interested in playing it, it's very, very easy to install. I was able to do it within probably 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah, and I don't think you were sober when you did it either.
No, I definitely was not.
Just make sure you follow the steps, because if you miss a step, then you might get lost a little bit.
Right. But it completely translates it, and it's really, really good. I think it's better played with other people, but it is definitely doable solo. One warning, one caveat I can give you of this game is that the traversal system...
Yeah, the world's too big.
The world's way too big. It should not be near as big as it is, and it takes a long time to get from like one town to the next, or one town to the next area. So keep that in mind, that traversal is kind of a slog. But so far for me, and this is coming from somebody that you can ask Corey, I do not play Dragon Quest games. I do not. I've been a Final Fantasy fan my whole life, unfortunately. And I have never really gotten into Dragon Quest. I played a little bit of 11, and it's the only Dragon Quest game that I've played besides 11, and I'm really, really enjoying 10, and I think a lot of it is because I'm playing with Corey, but a lot of it too is that it's very well presented and very well done.
Yeah, it is.
It was one of the games that Yoshi P actually worked on before Final Fantasy XIV. So you know that somebody that has created quality games has worked on it. Yeah, I've been really enjoying our playthrough of it together. And in fact, we're, playing it on Saturdays and stuff together, Saturday
mornings on my Twitch channel if you want to check it out. Twitch.tv/Dookie03.
Shameless plug. But I've also been playing the shit out of Starfield on PC Game Pass.
Right.
And I gotta say, I was expecting this game to be a dumpster fire, to be honest, because because
of all the stuff people have been saying online.
All the stuff people have been saying online, the review scores being lower than I expected. Like, I think it's dropped to an 84 or an 83 or something like that now on Metacritic, and that's not what I expected. Like, I expected this game to be like a 90 to 92. Like, this was the game that everybody said, oh, this is make or break for Xbox. This is the game of the century. Like, this is going to be the game that people are playing. And so I went into it thinking, like, okay, with all the reviews and stuff, like, this game is trash, like, whatever. But a friend of mine, Craig, was playing it, and he's like, okay, there's some minor annoyances, but it does have a good base to it, whatever. So I was like, here's what I'll do. I will pay for PC Game Pass. I will pay the $10 or whatever for the PC Game Pass. I'll download it, I'll play it, and I'll try it. And if I don't like it, I'm only out $10. I'm not out the $70 for the game. I will just do it on Game Pass. So I downloaded it, started playing it, and from the get-go, I was hooked. And I was kind of shocked because I'd been told that the first 10 hours was really rough.
Yeah, that's what I heard. The first 10 to 12 hours were the worst part of the game.
And I don't think that's true. To me, I was hooked from the beginning. I realized today that I had not done anything in the main story yet, and I've been playing for several hours. The side quests are really, really well done. I literally did a side quest where I did not realize that the reward for the quest was going to be an entire spaceship.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That was a complete upgrade over my beginning ship. And I was really shocked by it, but the quest chain allowed me to do that to where I got this new ship. And now it's my main ship. And there's a lot, I don't want to spoil anything because it is a brand new game, but the side quests are really fucking good, really in depth. There's one where there's this alien monster type thing, and you have to lead it into this alleyway because you go to the this desolate planet, and you have to lead it into an alleyway where the person that you're working with has this turret system, and you have to lure it in so that the turret system kills it. Then you have to take a sample of its DNA, give it to this researcher, and then now I'm on a mission where I'm trying to eradicate this alien being from invading and destroying all life in the galaxy.
It's just a side quest.
And that's just a side quest. I feel like this could have been the main story.
Right.
And it would be it would be good. But I haven't even done hardly any of the main story. I only just started doing main story quests again today, and it's good. The only complaints I really have right now are that you do not have any vehicles outside of your ship. So
right, you were saying when you're on the ground, you're kind of walking everywhere.
Yeah, you're hoofing it everywhere. The companions are really good. The only other thing that I don't like is that it does not have a dedicated city map system. So you kind of have to remember where everything is at by memory, which when you go to these hub cities, you kind of you go there for quests and stuff anyway, and you go through the city a lot, and you start to pick up on where things are, and there's sometimes it'll be called the commercial district, so you'll know that you have to go there if you want to sell stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
But the problem is there's no dedicated map, so that it can be easy to get lost even in hub cities.
Oh.
And even when you go, I expected when you go to an uncharted planet or a planet that you're sent to or whatever, that as you explore, the map will start to will fill in and come into view and everything else, but it doesn't do that. And I don't know.
So there's no mini map at all when you're on like
there's
a planet?
Well, there's a mini map and it helps guide you to places and stuff, but the actual, like, if you were to open your map itself, it will show you the landmarks available and you have to get there, but it doesn't show you the lay of the land, or like if you're in a city.
Oh, so
Right.
if you're out not in a city or something, or even in a city, you could be like in a canyon that does not connect to where your objective is, kind of thing.
Right. The good
So
thing
you're
is
trying to like find your way there.
Right. The good thing is the game has a gravity system. So if you're like in a canyon on, like, let's say the moon, for example. Obviously the moon's gravity is different from our gravity, so you can jump higher.
Oh, jump and get above.
Right, your jetpack can take you higher, stuff like that. So there's ways that you can get around some of the minor annoyances. But other than that, I'm really enjoying my time with the game, and I think people that are going into it, looking at the reviews and looking at whatever, it's a Bethesda game. Like, you know what you're going to get with a Bethesda game, but I think they definitely... I like this game already more than I like Skyrim and Fallout 4. So, for that to be the case, that's pretty solid in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the problem with not even modern gaming, it's modern gamers, is like 82, like 8.2 out of 10. This game's shit. Like,
Yeah.
That's a really good score. Like, dude, people have no idea, man. Like, there's nothing wrong with a 6 out of 10, for fuck's sakes.
Right, even 10 out of 10 games have flaws.
Exactly, which is why they're not a 10 out of 10. I don't know if I could say any game is a 10 out of 10. Like, I know on YouTube there was like recently like this I don't want to call it a fad, but everyone was making these are my 10 out of 10 JRPGs or 10 out of 10 Super Nintendo JRPGs or whatever. And like a lot of my favorite YouTubers were doing this. But like there is no such thing, man. There's always some kind of flaw. Like, there's always something that they could have done better.
Well, and it's all subjective anyway.
It is very subjective. The only game I can think of that is a 10 out of 10, and it's not even my favorite game ever, because personal taste, like you can have a 10 out of 10 game, but your personal taste can still prefer another game. You know what I mean? But the only 10 out of 10 game I can think of that's a JRPG is Chrono Trigger. Like, there's
I would agree with
nothing.
that.
There's the only thing I would take out of that game is that stupid fucking race with Johnny.
God, I hate that thing.
I hate that race, man. I did a top and worst 5 JRPG minigames video like 4 years ago, and that was up there because it's such a flawless game, and it's just like the whole race is so pointless because you're just like like you're just going back and forth anyways. You boost, oh look at that, and now I'm back. Like you just have to boost right before the finish line and you win the race every time. Like it's the dumbest, most useless fucking
pretty much.
minigame.
I agree.
But other than that, like it's flawless, but you could still have personal preference and prefer other games. But like as I played many 6 out of 10 games and absolutely love them. Like it's all comes down to personal preference, what you like and dislike about games, not even that game in particular, but just why you play games in general, right?
Well, and people take too much stock into Metacritic scores anyway, because if you look at it, it's literally just an aggregate score.
Yeah, it just combines
all of the scores that have been submitted to the website. So you getting mad over a game that you hate getting a 92 and a game that you love getting an 82, like, it doesn't matter, because to you that game is a 92. So why does it matter what Metacritic fucking says? Because it does. It's literally just
it's a good guide. Like it's
a gauge.
It's a gauge.
Yeah.
We said it at the same time.
Oh my god.
But like, yeah, I do still want to do a podcast episode where we talk about like games that we recognize are really good games that just aren't for us, as well as games from genres that we like generally would not like or play that we loved. Like I definitely want to do an episode about that at some point,
right?
And because there are a lot of outliers, and I think they deserve to be talked about. You know what I mean?
Well, like, I'm not a huge first-person shooter fan, but I love Time Splitters. Like,
Dude, everybody tells me those games are so good, and I've never played them.
Time Splitters 2 is an all-time classic.
Is it on PS2?
Yes,
Maybe
I think.
I'll have to grab that.
Yes, I think so. I think it was PlayStation 2.
The only PS2 first-person shooter I played was the Serious Sam games. You ever play those? Those are fun as shit too.
Yeah,
it's just like it's almost like a twin stick shooter, but it's a first-person shooter. You're just like running backwards and shooting people, basically. Super
all right. So, the moment you've all been waiting for.
The main event of the evening.
Final Fantasy VIII. I still have my original discs. You also have your original discs.
What happened to your case?
Well, I don't know. Over many moves over the years, I have damaged cases. It is, dude. Every time I lose something in a move.
Same, every single time.
Now, do yours have the black?
I think so. Yeah.
Backgrounds on, or the
I can
black?
I can see a reflection of your computer screen.
I know.
It's weird that you got Pornhub open while we're streaming this or recording this. Yeah, mine's the black.
I mean, how many times do you think I've had that open while we've been just talking in Discord?
All the times.
Every time. Yeah, so I think it's cool because, like,
back, look at that shit.
Oh yeah, dude, I miss having that case. I had the strategy guide too at one time, and
you can probably still buy the greatest hits version from Square Enix's website, because I got my buddy Mike a copy of Chrono Cross like last year for Christmas off of Square Enix's website.
Nice,
brand new. They still sell PS1 games there. At least they did like a year ago.
Now, what I always loved about these is that you kind of with these discs, they had the characters on the cover. So you had Squall.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
Yeah, you had Squall, Rinoa, Cypher, and Laguna. Which I find it interesting that Laguna is disc 4, because I would have thought
that's like the only disc you never play as him, I think, isn't it?
Yes, I think you're right. But the reason why I think it's weird is that, yes, the game kind of ends on a high note with him, but I would have thought that the fourth person would have been possibly Idea or Ultimecia, but it's Laguna. But
Ultimecia would have been a good choice.
I also think that the reason why they chose to put Laguna was because, obviously without being a major playable character, you can play as him, but I wouldn't say that in the overall, like, playtime, you probably spend, 30 minutes of the entire game playing as Laguna?
Yeah, maybe an hour.
Yeah, maybe an hour.
Maybe a little more.
So that being said, like, I see why they did it, but I would have thought, like, Idea or, Ultimecia would have been, because, like, she's the villain, so you would think that would be the case. But, so let's get a little bit of history on Final Fantasy VIII. So, we have Yoshinori Kitase, who directed Final Fantasy VII, as the director of 8. We have Kazushige Nojima, who was the scenario writer, who also worked on 7 and prior titles. Tetsuya Nomura, who was the character designer, who also did a little bit of story on this game, but was mainly the character designer. He'd also worked on titles like Final Fantasy V, Final Fantasy VI, as a monster designer. We have Nobuo Uematsu as the composer, of course, classic Uematsu. One of the greatest soundtracks in gaming, maybe in anything ever.
Yeah, it really is.
And as a longtime veteran of the series and the creator of the ATB system, Hiroyuki Ito as a lead designer. So, if you notice in that, I did not mention a very integral part of the Final Fantasy franchise.
The Gooch!
The Gooch! Hironobu Sakaguchi was not involved with Final Fantasy VIII's development. It clearly shows, but we'll get into that a little bit. But I want to give a brief history. This is the first time in the entire franchise that Hironobu Sakaguchi did not have anything to do with a mainline Final Fantasy game, and Shinji Hashimoto stepped in to become the producer for Final Fantasy VIII, who a lot of you may know as the brand manager or former brand manager of Final Fantasy, and the producer of the Kingdom Hearts titles. Sakaguchi, in his own words, wanted to give Kitase and the team a chance to do something that they wanted to make. Despite not agreeing with a lot of decisions made on the game, he allowed them to do what they wanted with it. And I think that definitely shows. This is like the first time where you can see Kitase's like development philosophy and Nomura's development philosophy kind of like come to the forefront of the Final Fantasy series. And this is kind of the first time where the franchise would turn in this direction of storytelling and the way it went in the future. And the roots of modern Final Fantasy are based in Final Fantasy VIII, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And we talked about Uematsu's score, and I wrote down, and I have a lot of notes for this podcast because I wanted to do this very thoroughly because I love this fucking game. So, what's the first song that comes to your mind when you think of Final Fantasy VIII?
There's two. There's the Balam Garden theme and then Fisherman's Horizon, but they're not my favorites. But as soon as I think of Final Fantasy VIII, those are the ones that come to mind.
Right, same. What is your favorite, though?
Man with the Machine Gun, baby.
Dude, that's gotta be everybody's favorite, right? Fucking classic song.
That's such a good song.
It's such a fucking banger, dude.
Considering it's like a regular battle theme too, like once you play as Laguna or whatever.
Right, it's just a battle theme for Laguna and his crew, and it's like, holy shit, you know? So the list of songs that I wrote down, just off the top of my head, I wrote down, obviously, the main big theme of Final Fantasy VIII is Eyes on Me.
Oh, yeah.
Created by Uematsu with Fei Wong singing the lyrics, which I believe, other than Sephiroth's theme song, this is one of the very first times that a JRPG had voices in it.
Like the song, yeah.
It came in...
in general, too, yeah.
Right. So, Eyes on Me...
what is it? How do you say it? Liberi Fatalis or something? The, like, opening theme?
Liberi Fatale.
Yeah. That one had...
I have that one written down as number 2. Breezy, which is the town outside of Balam Garden. I think it's actually Balam. I think that... Yeah.
Town or whatever.
Yeah, it's Breezy is the theme for that. I have
remember that
Succession of Witches, which is, I believe, the piano theme, like the yeah. Amy, Shuffler Boogie, Balam Garden, Blue Fields, Fisherman's
Boogie. That's the triple triad theme, right?
Yep,
yeah, that's a good one.
Waltz for the Moon, which is the dance scene.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too.
Find Your Way, Force Your Way, which is actually the boss theme. Don't Be Afraid, which is the battle theme. Man with the Machine Gun, and Julia. Now, I want to point something out because I did a little research on this OST before we started this.
Yeah.
None of the characters have a named theme song.
Oh, that's weird because usually they, especially in like the Super NES era, they really did.
Yeah. So, and I think the reason why that is that this is not a story that focuses on several characters. And when I say that, I want to preface this by saying, like, yes, I know that there's a party to this game. Yes, I know that the characters, there's a lot of characters. I know that they all have important roles. What I mean is that, and I believe Uematsu is credited with saying that this game focuses on Squall.
It really does.
So there is no theme for characters because this is Squall's story. We are Squall. And everyone else is just an accessory to him. Whether they have important roles in the story or not is irrelevant. This story is about Squall and, in extension, Rinoa. So there is no character theme for anyone except one person, Julia. And the reason why I find that so awesome is that Julia is a character that is literally the turning point in so many people's lives in this game, that she has her own dedicated theme, and I think that's super cool, and I don't know if anybody else has ever pointed that out, but yeah, she's the only one with a named theme. It's literally called Julia. Like, in the past, you'd have, like,
Saban's theme,
or
Setzer's theme, Mog's theme.
Right. There was a theme, you know. I think Final Fantasy VII had a couple that were like such and such theme or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, okay, Sephiroth had One Winged Angel, Birth of a God, stuff like that. So there wasn't like, it wasn't that characters didn't have themes, but named themes was a thing. And Liberi Fatali is a song that's like worldwide known. Like it's been used at the Olympics.
Yeah.
I think a synchronized swimming team
played at the sushi restaurant that in my city sometimes. Actually.
Really, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool as hell.
Yeah.
If I ever come up there, we're gonna.
I remember I was like eating there. I was like, what the fuck? This is like a fucking Final Fantasy VIII song.
That's awesome. Eyes on Me is weird because when I downloaded the Final Fantasy VIII soundtrack today, Eyes on Me was not on there. And I think that might be a licensing thing.
Yeah, probably.
It's probably to do with Faye and her, like, probably, I don't know if she owns part of the song or if it's, like, because it's her voice that they're whatever, but it's not on the soundtrack, which is weird because it's, like, the fucking, it's the theme of the game. Like, it's the theme.
I actually played that one at my wedding.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, we're fucking losers, but,
no way, man.
This game's awesome. Okay,
you gotta own it.
Opening sequence.
One of the best ever.
This is what I. Okay, so Resonant Arc did a podcast on 8 where they did like a whole series of podcasts and they analyzed this, and I agree with them to an extent, and then other things that I don't. And this is one thing where I lean towards agreeing with them, and it's because every game needs a hook, right? Mm-hmm. And in some way, Final Fantasy VIII's opening is a hook. But I often wonder if a better hook would not have been the Dalit mission. But then there would have had to have been a lot of rewrites and stuff like that.
I think, no, this is a good hook. Because then, it kind of grabs you by the balls. You want to know more, right? You're shown all this crazy shit. But then you can tell what's happening right now. And what's kind of premonition, if you will. You know what I mean?
It's a look into what's going to happen. And I think this is one thing that I'm so conflicted on in projects where Tetsuya Nomura and Yoshinori Kitase and Kazushika Nojima work on past Final Fantasy VIII, or Final Fantasy VII, I should say.
Yeah.
They have this almost need every game that they create now that follows this formula. We're going to introduce this great mystery. We're not going to tell you what that mystery is until 30 hours into the game.
Yeah.
But you have to pick up the pieces of that mystery as you go. And that's fine. I think that's an okay way to tell a story. Yeah. But at the same time, you run into problems where they do not convey the story in the story.
Yeah, enough, yeah.
Right, you have to find pieces on your own. Like, for example, you don't find out that Guardian forces destroy people's memory.
Well, you find out at the basketball court.
Well, you do, but you didn't know that before unless you read the desk at Squall's school.
Right, I forgot that it's in there.
Yeah, so if you read
the message board and stuff.
Right. Yeah, so if you read the desk, you find out super early. But if you don't, then you don't find this out till, I think, Disc 3 when you're at the destroyed garden. And you're on the basketball court and everybody's talking about how they don't remember stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I have a problem with that type of storytelling because sometimes I feel like there are times when telling the audience what they need to know is okay.
Should be pretty front and center.
Right. Yeah, it's cool to sometimes, and I'm not going to say that I hate it completely, because I don't. Yeah. But I do feel like sometimes this team has an unnecessary almost desire or need to do their stories in this way, because Final Fantasy XIII is kind of the same way. Like, the data logs and stuff. You have to read.
Way worse.
It's way worse in 13, but you have to read and read and read, and if you miss these subtle hints...
The exposition should be there. Even if there's subtle hints, they should be part of the progression of the game's story. It
Well, and
shouldn't be
the other
here's a
thing
text
too,
document for you to read.
right? And it almost makes certain characters a means to an end instead of being meaningful. Like okay, Irvine does the big reveal in the orphanage later on in the game, and you're like,
yeah, isn't he like, I knew the whole time, assholes?
yeah, he kind of is. He's kind of like I didn't understand why you guys didn't remember these people, but this is Matron, like this is Adea, like that's
like
part of the reason why he got nervous to shoot her, because he's like, I know her, but they don't. I guess in some way it's good that they have that character that is like, I knew this, but I didn't know how to bring it up to you guys, kind of thing.
Yeah, I've
But
never
at the
actually
same
connected
time,
that might be a reason why he had such an issue with shooting her. I've never actually thought about that before.
right? And those are those little subtle hints that you get, but at the same time, like, present some of those things in dialogue.
Yeah.
Be like, oh,
yeah, it's hard to have an aha moment when there's no hints leading up to that aha moment.
Well, and I think that's why a lot of people struggle with the plot twist of this game, because they're like, that came out of nowhere. But if you really, really look,
it feels like conveniently trying to fix bad writing when it happens.
Right. And it in some ways I agree with them. In a lot of ways I don't, because I think that the plot twist was actually set up pretty well, but it did rely on knowledge that you may or may not have to that point. And I think that's where the flaw for me is that you may or may not know the context of why they don't remember. So it can be a little iffy, or it can be felt like it's a throwaway line, right? Like,
yeah,
it's just one of those things.
I appreciate vastly little details that players who are really into a game can go and find out that improve the lore, deepen the world that the game takes place in, and all that stuff. But it shouldn't be at the cost of like something that's a huge plot twist. Like, it shouldn't be something that's a huge plot twist down the road that the average player is completely oblivious about, because then it feels like they're like, actually actually know this, okay? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To like, instead of like, it would have looked smart if they would have had that in there, and they could have had it when at the beginning when Squall's in class, right? They could have been finishing up a lesson, right, with Quistis, and the end of the lesson was, all right, guys, remember blah blah blah, GFs. We need to talk about GFs and their effect on the mind next week or whatever, right? Next week's class. They could have. That's all they would have had to have done, is something like that, and then we would have been like, "Oh, dude, they were talking about that at the beginning of the game."
Right.
But because they didn't, and it's like you shouldn't have exposition that relates to the main story and a major plot twist hidden like that in like side content.
Yeah, I totally agree, and that's one of the reasons why I really loved watching Resonant Arc and their podcast about Final Fantasy VIII, because I loved Final Fantasy VIII before I listened to them, and then they were able to tell me things that I didn't know, you know, that they had discovered or that fans had sent in, like, because what they do is they basically they play a little bit of the game, they talk about it. They play a little bit of the game, they talk about it, and they release these episodes, and people will comment and
so
say,
everything's very fresh in their mind, too,
right?
Right,
and they're able to, and the comment section will be like, hey, oh, did you talk to this NPC at this certain point? Because at this certain point, this NPC will reveal a pretty significant thing in the story, but if you don't talk to them, you miss it.
Yeah,
and so that's
cool when it's little details, because it fleshes them out more and makes the world feel more alive. But it's not cool when it's something that pertains to the main character's story.
Right.
Then it's like it's different to build upon the story, but you shouldn't like replace the story. rip a piece of the story out and put it as
Right.
a side content thing, if that makes sense.
You know what I think, and this will be the last thing I say about that part of it, but I think what would have really been cool too is like you have all these hints that Guardian forces have an effect on people's minds, but do we really see somebody that has overdone it?
Yeah, they should have thrown someone like that in there.
Like, I think it would have been really cool to be like, okay, this guy literally
is like fucked up.
Almost like Yu Yevon. The way Yu Yevon was, where he was no longer Yu Yevon. He was like this being that just summoned sin because that's what he always did, and that's what he does now, is like every time sin is destroyed,
yeah, really,
he does
that's all
it again.
He knows at this point.
Right,
yeah.
So they should have had like a character, like maybe like the this guy are sick kind of guy, where
yeah, that's what I mean, like a summoning sickness, like somebody that's messed up.
I think that would have been,
and they don't know why, but they're pretty sure it's because of this.
Right, I think that would have been cool.
That would have been a good way to put it.
And there might be, and I just haven't discovered it or never heard of it, but I don't think that's the case. I don't think they went that in depth with. I think they basically just used the Guardian Force thing as a means to an end and didn't really expand on it a whole lot. But, so we talked about the opening sequence. An interesting thing that we realize after the fact is that it's just practice.
Yeah,
they're just going after each other for practice, and I mean, like you've played sports, right?
How light sparring always goes,
right? Exactly. You know, we've all had that friend or that teammate or whatever that went a little too far, and obviously, you know, Cypher went a little too far, Squall went a little too far in return, and ended up in the infirmary and stuff. Yeah. It just happens. It's Japan has this tradition of morning practice where before school, if you're in a sport or you're in a club or anything like that, you have morning practice before school starts. And then like it's a very big tradition. So you can see where the Japanese traditions and styles have been firmly placed in the game and have really been expanded upon here. So another note that I wrote down is that liberi fatali's Latin isn't actually Latin. It's an anagram of the words succession of witches and love.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. So the beginning lyrics, like the
Fidos ducet.
That is literally just succession of witches and love as an anagram. Another note I have.
What's an anagram?
It's where you rearrange the letters of something to make a new word or a new like word scheme or whatever.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Japanese has a fuck ton of those.
Yeah, so like the lyrics, like the lyric of that is literally just the words succession of witches and love rearranged in a pattern to make lyrics.
Right.
Another thing that I had written down that I wanted to make sure that we know is that the military group is called Seed, and the places where seeds are trained is called a garden. So that's a correlation that we're going to discuss a little bit later when we get to a special summon. But also just a thing, just a thing to note that there is influences and stuff outside of just Japanese culture and Final Fantasy and stuff like that in play here.
Dude, so the guy that got me in to Final Fantasy in general and 8, like I played Final Fantasy 1, but I was like really young. It was on the NES and it was way harder to understand as a fucking 6-year-old than Dragon Warrior 1 was. So the next one I played was 8, right? That was I consider 8 my first Final Fantasy. But the guy that told me about the whole reason I picked it up was because one of my classmates was like, dude, Final Fantasy VII is fucking awesome, blah, blah, blah. And so I went to I think it was Walmart, because we don't really have any like game stores around here. I went to Walmart and I was like, my friend told me to get Final Fantasy VII. And the guy working at the store was like, you should get Final Fantasy VIII. It's the newest one. It just came out and it's way better. And I was like, fuck yeah, brother.
Wow. So I'm surprised somebody said that.
Well, it was new, right? And
yeah, true.
When something new comes out, it's always better.
Right.
So I grabbed it. I mean, I prefer 8 over 7, but I grabbed it.
No comment.
and and went home. And anyways, we would always talk about it at school because he grabbed 8 as well, like almost the same weekend I did. And so we would play it at home, and then we'd go to school and we'd like talk about it and stuff. And he would get so mad. He was like, "They're called CDs. They're not called seed," because of the way it's spelled, like with the capital S and the
capital D. Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. They fucking train in a garden. I think there's something something about that going on in there. But I just remember him getting so mad all the time about that.
So when you first saw this opening scene, what were your thoughts? Like, were you like, "Holy shit," like, or were you like, "What the fuck's going on?"
So I saw, and I didn't know that this was it, but I saw the opening scene kind of before I played the game, because we had a channel here. It was an American station. It was Fox Rochester. And I would always watch like Dragon Ball and stuff on it. It was always on super late at night. And they must have had like a video game store in Rochester, because there would always be like video game commercials and stuff. And it was like, you can get it at blah, 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 whatever the store was called. And it was like the opening cutscene, but it was a little different. And I would love to find this trailer of the game. It was basically the opening cutscene, but there were some parts that were different about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like the commercial was that part. And I was like, this looks so fucking cool. And then, when I fucking bought the game, not knowing it was from that game, because it was just an advertisement for the store. It wasn't an advertisement for the game, but it used that cutscene, like most of that cutscene. And I just remember thinking it was the coolest thing of all time. When I played the game and it was a little bit different, I was like, what's all this like angel-y shit? Like, it didn't have like the feather and stuff like that, and it didn't show the meadow, because it was trying to look like this cool video game store commercial, right? And I just when I saw that stuff, I was like, oh, what's this stuff? But yeah, I thought it was really cool. I thought it was like this big fight, and I honestly thought the whole thing was a premonition until like 2 seconds later, when you're like, oh, it was you guys went a little too hard in training or whatever. And you wake up in the, as I called it at the time, what did I call it? Infirmary. You wake up at the infirmary, because I was like, what the fuck's I've never heard the word infirmary before, right? And it's so weird, because people are always like I'm not like a big reader. I've read like comic books and stuff, but as far as like novels, I think I've read 1984, I've read War of the Worlds, and a couple of the Dune books, and that's it. Like, I'm not a fucking reader.
I used to read a lot more, but I don't anymore.
I can't. I've like, dude, my ADHD, I end up having to read the same fucking like page 15 times. So it's like, there's no point in me reading this. If there's not pictures, I ain't buying it. But anyways, I just remember people would always be like, oh, you're never going to learn new words if you don't read. But a lot of the words I know is from playing like video games. Yeah, like JRPGs and stuff like that.
Because you see a word and you're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, and then you look it up, and yeah. Same with like a lot of like, I've always loved mythology since I was like a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of like with Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest and all that stuff there's so many like mythology references and all of that stuff.
Well, all the summons in Final Fantasy are pretty much based off.
They're all mythology.
Except for like Cactuar or whatever, but. So, if I were to ask you who you thought directed that opening cutscene, who do you think it would be?
I would guess Nomura.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It's so easy to tell. Like, you can look at that.
The only thing that could make it more Nomura is if fucking Squall and Cypher were like flying around while they were doing it.
I know, right? So a lot of the mysterious stuff at the beginning comes from, Nomura directing it and all that. So just a few things just to get, when I first saw that cutscene, I fucking lost my shit. I thought it was like the greatest thing I'd ever seen. Cool. I'm like, is this what the whole game is going to be like? Like, Now obviously it wasn't, but the
graphics were so good. Like
yeah, it was the best. It was the best looking PS1 game.
Yeah, cutscene wise, anyway.
Yeah, cutscene wise. But yeah, I we first get introduced into the Gunblade, and for me, dude, I thought the Gunblade was so fucking badass. I was like, obviously after playing 7, you had the Buster Sword, which was iconic, but I feel like if you're gonna go for recognizable, or like
the Gunblade's more iconic than,
or unique, I guess.
The Buster Sword.
Iconic, I would disagree. Unique, I would totally go Gunblade, because there's nothing like it. Like,
yeah.
There's just nothing like it out there.
Like, Buster Sword, it's just a fucking fat boy sword. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing really special about the Buster Sword.
It's the symbolism of it more so than it is the blade itself. Yeah, it's an iconic sword. It's, it's a gun with a fucking sword attached to it. Like,
yeah, dude.
It's just really cool, Cypher has one. And later on you find out that the reason Cypher has one is because he actually idolizes Laguna, which is hilariously hilariously ironic when you think about how the story unfolds and what we find out later, which we'll discuss later. But what we find out later, it's just hilariously ironic that him and Squall have this rivalry, and then he emulates Laguna. So we'll get into that a little bit later, but for me, the Gunblade is one of my favorite weapons of all time. It's incredible. It had Griever hanging off the back of it with the little pendant,
I wanted, dude, because like I was like big into that whole like buying jewelry stuff, not jewelry necessarily, but like high quality collectibles from the Square Enix store. Like I have the ultimate key, the magic key, and the thieves key from the Dragon Quest games and stuff like that. I wanted like a Griever thing so bad back in the day.
Yeah, I would totally love to get one. But we also see a couple characters in that opening trailer. We see Rinoa, who we don't know yet. Idea, who we don't know yet. Squall and Cypher. So we see 4, and what's interesting too, and you have the case so you can actually hold it up and show people, but for people that are just listening, who is on the front cover of Final Fantasy VIII?
You've got Squall, Rinoa, Cypher, and then in the background, kind of looming over everyone, is Idea.
And what is she doing in that trailer? She is kind of in the background, looming over the battle that we're seeing. So it's kind of, they are playing into this heavy idea that she is important, these 2 guys are important, and the girl we saw in the beginning is important. And it's shown on the front cover of the game itself, so it's kind of all tied together.
What a well-designed character, by the way, Idea is.
I agree, totally.
Like as soon as you see her there, you're like, okay, that's the fucking bad guy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she's got, as soon as you see like her fingers, you see like she's very uniquely done up. Like the sorceresses in Final Fantasy VIII have a super unique look that like I can't think of any game that has a similar look to like the characters that look similar to that or have that kind of style to them. And it makes sense when you get to the end and find out, okay, that was Idea possessed by ultimecia, and that's why she has like the same kind of style when she's possessed. Because when she's not, well, I guess when she's not possessed later on in the game, keeps the style for some reason. I thought that was kind of dumb. But before she was possessed, she was just like this plain Jane chick, right?
I think she does put on her old clothes later, but yeah, I know, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's funny to me too, because like 2 of my early childhood crushes came from this game. Rinoa, obviously, and then Idea is a fucking babe.
Yeah,
like,
she is.
God damn. And then
so is Ultimecia.
Yeah, Ultimecia is too. But also she talks like a Mortal Kombat character, but
I know, that makes her hotter.
With the K's. But so
I'd test my might. Know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying? So major characters in relative order of appearance. We have Rinoa, who I wrote down as the leader of the Timber Owls, clearly has romantic chemistry with Squall. Squall, leader of the party and eventual leader of Seed. He kind of is standoffish, doesn't really want to be a leader, but he's thrust into the position unwillingly. Cypher, we have a rival of Squall, becomes a day as night, weird sense of heroism and duty. Former love.
Well, he wants to become a knight also because of that movie, right?
Right, exactly. He wants to be the sorceress knight. He was formerly romantically involved with Rinoa. We have Idea, who is a sorceress with several hidden secrets central to the plot. And that's the other thing that I want to bring up, too, is that all of these characters are very, very central to the plot.
Yeah, they are.
More so than I think anyone else in the party. Then we have, when we wake up in the infirmary, we have Alone. And we don't know who she is yet.
At all. That part was so confusing as a kid.
Right,
like,
and
what the fuck was that all about?
That's the other thing. She clearly knows, and one of my notes is, I said, Squall, so we meet again. That's her exact quote. So you know from the very beginning that we know this person, or she at least knows us. So there's got to be a correlation between that and Squall, but we don't know what it is yet.
Oh, my fucking head.
Yeah, exactly. Quistis breaks into the infirmary, not really breaks in, but comes in. She's a young teacher. She's
Puts the door in.
Yeah, she's only a year older than Squall, and she clearly has a thing for him. And she
was a babe.
Yeah, she kind of chastises him for getting into it with Cypher like that. After we get our Dalit mission, we meet Zell. He's hot-headed, but he's a skilled martial artist. He's got a Mike Tyson tattoo, and he kind of continues the monk archetype that we see in Final Fantasy games.
Yeah, dude fucking loves hot dogs.
Does. He fucking does.
Loves the glizzy.
And I love that this game does such a good job of, like, making this... Every once in a while, it throws the fact that it's a high school drama in your face. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Like, the biggest thing that Zell is worried about right now is that the hot dogs are on sale, and they might be running
Sold out by the time he gets to
so you got to get to the cafeteria to get the fucking hot dogs, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's
like every once in a while, it's like a slice of life story, but...
Right. Which I think it's to the game's benefit.
Yeah, I agree. And I generally don't like that in like... shows and games and stuff, but this one, I feel like this one does it well because it's not all the time, but it's just there enough to like remind you, oh yeah, these guys are like fucking college kids, like early fucking college kids.
Right. And it's funny too because like the seriousness of everything going on around them, like they're in the military. They are military kids. So they literally are going to graduate and go kill people.
Yeah.
But to them, like, their biggest worry right now is the hot dogs. And that's just such a cool little detail that they throw in there. But, so, Selphie. We meet her in the hallway outside of the classroom.
Fucking hate Selphie.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. Young and energetic member of Balam Garden. Loves planning events at the garden committee. Is a transfer from another garden.
I'm going to say transformer.
Yeah. Later on, we meet Irvine. He's skilled but terribly anxious sniper and marksman. Also fashions himself a ladies' man.
Yep.
And then we have
him and only him.
We have Sid, who's the headmaster of Balam Garden,
played by Robin Williams. Might I add.
And then obviously the main bad of the game is Ultimecia, evil sorceress that wishes to complete a time compression spell to take over all periods of time. That's kind of a general.
I love the whole time compression thing, like the concept and the fact that you get to experience it, because like the whole game, not the whole game, but like the last maybe half or third of the game, you're like, you hear about this whole time compression thing and you're like, fuck, we can't let that happen. And then you meet Laguna and he's like, nah, dude, the only way we can beat this bitch is if we let that happen. Because a lot of times in JRPGs, you just prevent that thing from happening. And then you're like, we save the world in the end, right?
Yeah, but this time it actually happens.
Yeah, every once in a while they do it where like, no, it happens. And in this case, it's almost like they're baiting it. Like they want it to they need it to happen really to beat her, right? And it's almost like they don't want her to know that they want it to happen, right? And then it happens. And the fact that you get to experience it, that's like one of the coolest things. That cutscene, they're like, yeah, that part's fucking cool, dude.
And the fact that like Squall legit thinks that he's lost everything now.
Yeah.
Like, he genuinely believes that it's over.
Is that when they come back or when they go there though?
That's before they go there. Like, he has that alone time with Rinoa.
Oh, right. Yeah, where it's like, we're fucked. Like,
Yeah,
there's
he's
no
like,
other options.
he genuinely believes, like, it's over. Like, we're done. We failed.
There's nothing else we can do. Yeah, it's like Laguna and Alone that kind of come up with that plan, isn't it?
I think so, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
So we've talked about the opening sequence. Let's get into the Guardian Forces, because this game had some very unique summons that you could get. It also had a weird way of getting some of them. So,
yeah, I was gonna say, so right at the start, like the first ones you get are completely like not missable, as in you'll never get them again, but missable if you didn't know to check your fucking computer.
Yeah,
so just like that plot point we were talking about earlier, they've got these GFs that like are pretty fucking necessary for the game, and it's right at the start, and like most people would just walk out the classroom door and start beating up T-Rexors. That's what I did. and like, you need these GFs to basically build up your characters because of the way the leveling system works in this game.
Well, yeah, and you get Shiva, and I always
call him like Quetzalcoatl.
I think it's Quetzalcoatl, but I'm not sure.
Be.
I believe it's a Mayan thing, or an Incan thing, something like that. But you get Shiva and Quetzalcoatl from the desk. This is where you find out that the Guardian Forces cause memory loss, but this is the other thing that you can miss. The tutorials here are fucking horrible, by the way.
Yeah, they are. Oh, yeah. So before we did the podcast, I was showing kind of Alex the manual and stuff, because I still have the manual, and we looked for the junction system part of it. It's 11 pages in the manual,
which is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
But yeah, so the tutorials in this game are fucking terrible, by the way. I think this is another reason why I don't like Katase and Nomura's style, because they kind of give you a brief rundown of everything, and then they put everything relevant in descriptions. Like, if you go back and you read in the menu the description of the tutorial, it's so much more in depth. There's like a glossary with all the terms that is there, and it's like, why was this not explained to its fullest? If you were going to make me spend 20 minutes doing a fucking tutorial, why did you not just put this in the fucking tutorial?
Yeah.
It's like, why the fuck even do that? What, like, they put something relevant to how the game fucking works. Like, they don't even explain what GF is. It just says GF.
Girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, you have to go in.
I don't think girlfriend existed yet. Like, GF
I'm not sure
girlfriend even existed.
But you have to look and be like, okay, this is what Guardian Forces are. This is what they do. This is the junction system. This is what it does. Blah blah blah. So it's just, this is one reason I cannot stand the way they do games, because of shit like this. After you get Shiva and Quetzalcoatl, you walk out and trip into Selfie, and you also get Triple Triad in that hallway. And
one of the greatest minigames.
One of the greatest minigames of all time.
Possibly the only Final Fantasy minigame to top Blitzball.
It definitely tops Blitzball, but whatever. And so we get our first introduction to Selfie, and Triple Triad. I think they give you your first deck. I spent a lot of time playing Triple Triad. I'd never have completed the Queen of Cards quest, though.
I did.
I never completed it.
I played so much Triple Triad.
So after this, we go and we're going to the Fire Cave to defeat Ifrit. And this is timed, and you can choose your time, and the faster you do it, the
like
faster you do it, basically. Yeah. So the way the system that works in this game, and it's kind of a cool system, is called the seed system, and you earn your money by, I don't remember what the time is, like there's an internal clock in the game, and when it runs out, you get paid.
Yeah,
Well,
it's like
depending-
a timer almost
right.
going off in the background.
Yeah, it's like a hidden
you get paid
timer.
by the hour, basically.
Yeah, so you
Which is weird.
You have this rank, and your rank is determined by things that you do. So your seed rank is determined by the fire cave and the Dalit mission. And when you're done with those two things, they combine your scores, and that determines your seed rank. You can increase that seed rank by taking tests at the desk back at school, but
you can also do it. You can, depending on your performance, I think throughout the game. I think you can.
I think so too. Yeah.
As well. But the seed test, you didn't have to go to the school. It was right in the
oh, that's right.
menu.
It is in the game menu.
And the best way to increase your seed rank actually is to go on down to the library where they have internet and download all the answers to the seed tests. I did that every time, so you get A rank right away.
Yeah, pretty much. And so like it's really cool that this game had a lot of systems that kind of were separate from each other, but kind of work together in the lore of the game. Like, you are rewarded for completing tasks.
Yeah.
That you don't normally get, right? True. Like,
normally it's like an enemy or a boss fight. That's it, usually. Or a treasure chest.
You did this mission
Wait a minute. Are there no treasure chests in Final Fantasy VIII? Holy fucking shit. I don't think there are.
Dude, I don't know
a single one.
I don't either. Oh fuck!
What the fuck?
I just thought now that you mentioned that, I don't think there was.
I don't think there was either. Let us know in the comments, guys.
Yeah, let us know in the comments because that's interesting. I'm not sure.
Other than, and I don't know if these count, but like there were things you could interact.
Yeah, I don't.
Maybe remember. Maybe that's why they decided to go the salary route instead of.
Very possible. So you get a salary basically, because you're a military, like you're in the military
mercenary.
Now. Yeah. Once you graduate, you are in the military, so you're getting like a pay, like a salary. And depending on how well you do, you can upgrade that salary. Obviously the junction system is separate from that, but basically your seed ranking is determined by how fast you do the Ifrit mission. There's certain parameters like in Dalit mission, and we'll get to that, but in Dalit mission, if you stop and talk to an NPC, that docks you points. How many times do you fight the spider? That docks you points.
You ever kill it?
I haven't killed it completely, but I have knocked it out. Depending on like certain choices you make in the Dalit mission, your seed score will either go up or down. And there is a scale somewhere online. I don't remember what it is. I think the strategy guide had it too. But it tells you how to score the highest on the test or the mission. But so if you go in the cave and you fight Ifrit, there's certain things that you can do. So you can, obviously the goal is to defeat him. But if you use Shiva against Ifrit, he actually he makes a comment about her.
I like that.
And I thought that was really cool too. That was the Guardian, and that never happens again, I don't think.
Except for the Cypher fight, if you use Odin.
Yeah, if you use Odin in the Cypher fight, he will cut it in half, and then
how badass must Cypher be to
no shit.
Kill Odin?
And then Gilgamesh will come in his place.
Garugamesh.
But so like it's
with a cardboard arm, by the way. That's like my favorite. That's my favorite Gilgamesh, because Gilgamesh is like a joke, like most of the time, right? And he looks so badass in it, but they still have to have that little bit of joke.
Yeah, that little thing.
That fucking cardboard arm.
So you get done, you come back to school, and you receive the Dalit mission. And what's funny about the Dalit mission is, did you ever play the demo for 8?
That's the Dalit mission is like the entire demo, basically.
Yeah, the Dalit mission is the demo.
Different, but a little bit different.
Yeah, it's a little bit different, but it is the demo. And that's what I think a lot of people thought was going to start Final Fantasy VIII.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's the Dalit mission is like a couple hours into the game.
The boat ride there, The stuff like inside the boat was kind of lame, but when you go outside, that cutscene was
Oh,
so
the cutscene
bad.
was dope as
Do,
fuck.
do, 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 do. And,
But
like
you
the
got,
moon
like-
reflecting on
Oh,
the water
yeah.
like that, and then the boat going through it in the wake, like kind of splitting the reflection, and then you're like, you've got like this impending sense of like doom, because that's what it is, man. Like, as much as people are like, oh, soldiers, like fighters and stuff, for example, it's like, oh, this guy's so badass. But that's that feeling, man. Like it's you're hyped up, but there's that sense of impending doom. Like shit could go wrong. People are
they
gonna
could
die,
die.
and it could be us. Yeah.
Right.
And so you have the music, the way the music goes with that cutscene and that whole scene is so good, because you got that impending doom, and then you've got that as soon as they make landfall, the music just picks up, and it's like, and it's just like if you're like in a fight or something, you've got all of a sudden, boom, the adrenaline kicks in, right? It's fucking go time now. It's that impending doom is gone, because that ain't gonna help you through this, right? It's that drive to that adrenaline rush is the only thing that's gonna get you through this now. And that's the way the music goes.
Speaking of inside the ship, I have some notes here about it. Cypher's clearly being a dick. Squall's kind of like, whatever. But then Cypher calls Zell a chicken wuss.
That is the dumbest, like...
I know, but it's so great. Because he's being a dick, though, it eventually ends up costing him the grade that he needs to pass and graduate. So because Cypher kind of goes on his own later in the mission, he fucks himself. And that is kind of a point of contention for him as well.
Yeah, he kind of holds it against the others, though.
Right.
Hey? Like, he kind of blames them for
a little bit, yeah. We go to the top of... the dog. We go to the top, which I think is also part of the Dalit mission grade. So we go to the top of the tower, which is it's a satellite broadcast thing, and we fight everybody's favorite characters, Biggs and Wedge.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, they're really good in this game.
They're really good in this game, and they're repeat bosses too.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite incarnation of Biggs and Wedge in the whole series, I think.
Yeah, I would agree too. And then after we defeat them, we get into a fight with another boss. I cannot remember the name of the boss, but
it's like Grey Gnarl or something like that.
Yeah, so this is the first time where we obtain a Guardian Force from an enemy.
Like accidentally.
And we get Siren. So Siren...
And she sucks ass.
Yeah, she's not very good. But if you're going for a 100% run, you're going to get Siren from this boss.
And there's nothing that tells you to do that. So like,
no, it's literally just if you're drawing magic from this boss, which that's another thing about the game that we need to talk about too, is the drawing system and how it is kind of ass. Like, but
yeah, I mean, if you just use card mod, you never need to really do it other than for the summons and stuff.
Right.
Which is why it's so easy to miss summons, because I use the cards and stuff pretty much the whole time.
Right. Well,
system, like now that I know how it works,
I love
and how to
I love and hate the draw system.
Break the game.
Because like you have all these random draw points and there's like all these spells that you'll never get unless you use item refine
at a playthrough.
You know, you have to
we're already past where I
find these items, or you have to spend so much money, or you have to do this, or you have to do that, and it's like, god damn, it's
and
like
the draw points take forever to replenish too.
Right, and you need these for junctioning, and like this is where
stats in the game, because leveling does.
Right, and that's the other thing about the game is that it makes the game harder to actually level up. So it
and Dragon Warrior
discourages grinding, which is kind of the opposite of what you normally get in an RPG.
I mean, this is basically the
entire
experience of the game. Anyways,
I love this game, but I know it has flaws, and I feel like the junction / draw system is a very big one.
And I love
right.
And see some new cool monsters. That's my whole drive when I played that as a kid originally. The first time
so I got to the train mission, I think, in Timber.
Oh, where you're unhooking the trains and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I got the game, keep in mind, all I had my entire was like just fucking grinding forever. Like when I was a kid, I couldn't understand the story really. I was too young. So the thing I loved about it was I would grind. Now I can go a little further away from town, and that was like. So I love grinding for so many reasons, and that's one of them. You should really grind. I was level 25 because they give you good AP before we left for the Dalit mission. And not only that, I could not figure out. Was it when do you change your uniform? Is it when you get back from the Dalit mission? 15?
Yeah,
go to your room.
Yeah, because I think it's yeah, I think so.
Okay, so I did the ifrit part. I think I was like level 15 or something when I went and fought ifrit. Like I was just grinding. Continue with the story. And then we went to things and
the caterpillars
and the caterpillars. Yep, and those cool blue guys. Those guys are cool actually in the Balam field or whatever.
I don't remember
that little skeleton thing, and they're like,
oh yeah. They look like giant jellyfish.
Yeah. And now that I'm older, I know you're. But I grinded on all that stuff. T-Rexors gave the most EXP, so I pretty much tried to grind on T-Rexors as much as possible. I fought Ifrit. He was hard as balls, and then I was like, all right, Ifrit was pretty tough, so I'm obviously underleveled. so I went back, I
famous
healed,
last words.
And then I grinded till I was level 25. Then I was like, all right, let's doll it. All the cool stuff happened. And I got absolutely fucked because I was level 25. Everything was hard. And I barely knew I didn't really know how the junction system worked yet, right?
There's a lot of people that still don't know how it works.
Exactly. And so I was getting my ass beat, and I was like, you know what? I just got to start over. So I started over, and I was like, I was level 25 and I got my ass beat. Surely if I get to level 30, I can beat this. So I hit the grind again. And I was level 30. And I did eventually beat the Dalit mission. It was hard as fuck, though. Because I don't think I had anything junctioned. And if I did, it wasn't properly. And I was level 30, so every monster was fucking level 30, and they knew how to play the game, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I missed Siren, because why would I draw magic? Because I never used magic. That's the other thing. Another thing I love about Final Fantasy VIII is the junction system and how you junction magic, because I fucking hate mages, and I hate using magic in JRPGs and like video games in general. Because most of the time, other than like the odd outlier like Sea of Stars, where when you attack you gain MP, most of the time your MP is like if I'm gonna take a fucking mage into a dungeon, he's useless to me until I get to the boss. Because I'm punching with my fucking martial artist, I'm swording with my warrior. I'm not going to be using magic with my mage because then I'll have no fucking magic when I get to the boss. Like, I hate mages so much. And so to me, once I understood the junction system, I was like, finally magic is useful in a fucking JRPG to me. So I do love the junction system even more for that. But anyways, so I got to I didn't draw anything is what I was trying to get across. There was no point because I'm not going to use magic because I never do. And so I get to Grey Norl or whatever the fuck his name is, Elnoil. I don't even know. Maybe it is Elnoil. And I beat his ass really hard. I remember being so excited when all of a sudden he starts fucking like spazzing out and shit and dies. And I remember doing that, and then you're getting fucked up by the damn Elon Musk's kid, the crab, and you do that all stupid part. You hit him. You learn that you got to hit him with lightning, whatever. We get back to town, back to the garden, and they're like, put on your seed uniform and I'll see you at the dance.
Elveret, by the way.
Elveret, okay. We'll put on the seed uniform and we'll see you at the dance. I could not get past that because I didn't know the fuck my bedroom was. So I was stuck there for like a long time, dude. And you know what I did? I just fucking grinded some more. I think I was like level 40 before I did the timber mission.
Jesus.
Because I had to wait until I was back at school, and I was like, dude, did you ever get past this part? Like, where the fuck do I go? And then that buddy that told me about the game was like, yeah, you just go, it's one of those hallways leading from the center of the Balam Garden, right? And then you go to your dormitory and change your clothes. And I was like, fuck. But yeah, I was stuck there forever. And because I was stuck, I'm not going to not play the game for the rest of the weekend. I'm going to grind on T-Rex ores.
Which
So
I don't
it's
even
really hard.
Which I don't even know how you grinded on those at your level, because Jesus Christ, are those things hard?
They're hard, yeah, dude. But I mean, I don't know. I grew up playing like NES JRPGs, right, where everything's fucking hard.
Fuck, NES games in general are just fucking hard.
Yeah, they are.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this episode. By the way, don't forget that this is actually a multi-part series that we're going to be doing here on The Gaming Effect. We got talking about the game and realized how much we just really enjoyed talking about it, so we're going to split this episode into multiple parts so that we can record, get everything done, release episodes on time, and just get out the things that we want to talk about. Because a lot of the things that I wanted to talk about, I felt like I had to be brief with. So this is the result of that is that we are going to get a little bit more in depth, and then we are going to finish wrapping that up. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next episode. Thanks, guys. Bye.